How are you feeling, Leo? It's been a big month, especially for you with that total solar eclipse taking place here in your sun sign. Sun has moved away now into the finance sector, but we can still see here your planet of career is now in your sun sign, along with Mercury, which is retrograde, and the Mars planet next to the North Node. So this is particularly empowering. It can be a bit irritating, but I like this triangular aspect to Uranus, moving closer and closer to the career element of your life. So this normally works well, but it still has its element of volatility, especially with the retrograde Mercury. It's got a lot to do with your work now, even though we're seeing the cluster of planets here in your first house, and that's because of this movement of the moon here in your sixth house, along with powerful Pluto. So dealing with your work colleagues, issues of health, but also it's interesting here that I use the word enemies in the same breath as work colleagues, because this sixth house has to do with that. And when you've got Pluto and the moon there, and this is going to happen quite a bit for you over the coming years, because Pluto is going to remain here in your sixth house. So at around this time every month, every 28 days or so, mark this in your calendar. You need to be particularly careful with those that you're working with. Shouldn't be too bad here. You've got some good financial aspects from the sun taking place here, but it's nice to see that this will move out of here just around the 3rd of September into your 7th house of relationships. The South Node here, this little, it's like reversed headphones, I call them. As the moon moves into this sector, you can see right across here, that cluster we talked about, the opposition, makes this a challenging period, 3rd, 4th, 5th, even up until the 6th, when we see right now, as you can see, the full moon taking place in your 8th house, in the company of Neptune. So there's some confusion there, even though it may throw a light on some hidden aspects of your shared finances, as the moon was moving through the 7th house, going back over some old ground, only to find that it has to do with money. And look at that, on the 5th, just a day before this, Mars, friendly planet that it is, moving into your 2nd house of income, while the moon here is in opposition. It actually did an opposition to Mars as well. That can also be volatile and show a strong reactive response to topics surrounding money and values, you know, not just money, but it can be values. That can be maybe more the case as we see the moon moving up here, 7th, the 8th and the 9th, just here in the 9th house, when it moves into that conjunction with Uranus while it's opposite Jupiter here. And you see this 9th house is all about your higher ideals, your principles, your philosophy, and we also see that Jupiter is the natural ruler of the 9th house, and therefore this can be a principle-based opposition. Not too much to worry about there. You've got this grand trine. Look at this. This is a typical grand trine between Saturn, these and all of these planets in a sense, loosely speaking, along with Uranus in the upper part of the horoscope. This is a pivotal point in your horoscope right now, with Uranus moving up here, especially when it's triggered by that moon, indicates that you're trying to do things much more differently now, you're thinking much more differently, and as I said last month, that eclipse is definitely going to precipitate big changes in your life throughout this period, and that's going to continue for a few years. You will see that impact, not immediately. This planet's a very slow moving planet. It takes around, well, maybe approximately 7 years to move through each of these signs of the zodiac. And here we're only at 27 degrees, so you've still got at least a few more months of this planet until it hits your career sector. That's going to be a big one for you, Leo. Let's take a look here as it moves through the career area on the 11th. Then the social sector here, bringing into focus this opposition aspect to Saturn in your 5th house. Now, you know the 11th house is friendships, 5th house is love affairs. It's never an easy transit. Fortunately, it's a fast one to have the moon in opposition to Saturn there. So that would show some, maybe not depression, but constraint. Maybe you're biting your tongue, you're a little bit pissed off with someone for saying something or doing something. That could also be a follow-through, a flow-on from this ninth house principle-based opposition you had earlier. So be careful of friends. Maybe don't say so much, although you'll want to. Look at this. Mercury, Mars and Sun. In the second house, this is all to do with speech. The Vedic astrologers are very clear on that. And when you've got Mercury and Mars together, there's a conjunction of that on the 17th from what I can see over here. That could spill over into some pretty nasty sorts of episodes. So maybe around the 12th, 13th, 14th, avoid confrontation. Maybe just spend some time alone, which is going to happen anyhow here as the moon moves through this 12th house of your horoscope, which is a bit of downtime. Nicer things happen as the moon swings around here. It's getting ready to approach the new moon a little later, but here, some concerns you have over your own self-image. See, the moon, Rahu, Venus. This is all to do with how you're presenting yourself. Again, you need to draw on that Uranus energy to make you a little bit different, a little bit special. And as that happens, good sentimental feelings with the moon transiting over the position of Venus here. Then, around the 18th, we see that opposition to Neptune. That's a confusing aspect just before the new moon. That triggers this argumentative aspect again. Then the new moon, which takes place on the 21st. That's happening just in this second house of finance. 20, well, around the 19th really, if we want to be pedantic. But yeah, I always look at this phase even into a couple of days later as the moon being just newly emerging, getting brighter and brighter, with some good consequences here for you anyhow as it moves into conjunction with Jupiter here in your third house of communications. Wow, that's a bit of a wild conversation being opposite Uranus there. Again, that ninth house, yeah, that's journeys as well. So sometimes when there is this relationship with the moon and Jupiter and Uranus, Jupiter's the natural ruler of long journeys, bang, a sudden desire to get up and go is shown by that. Let's look further. The fourth house movement of the moon here in Scorpio, 23rd and 24th, is all about family affairs, and that's nice too, up until the 24th, because you had that triangular aspect to the south node, good memories. Oh, actually it wasn't to the north node. Let me just go back a bit there. I want to see what, it was to Neptune. So that's idealistic there around the 24th, but then it moves to that hard aspect right now there. As you can see, the square to the south node. Family affairs, relationships. There could be some confrontation there again, or some need to reconcile your family issues with your partner's issues. There could be some, I guess, divided loyalties, for want of a better word. Fifth house is lovely. This first part of the transit here on the 25th is great for competitive issues, creativity, but the movement again into that conjunction of Saturn, which we saw about 15 days earlier, which gave you a bit of a downhearted effect in your zone of friendships, could actually play out again for a little while with any sort of love affair. With the last part of the month showing some health issues here as it moves through the sixth house in conjunction with Pluto. This could be fasting, elimination, purging. This is elimination of the unnecessary, and in the sixth house could also be to do with your debts, eliminating those debts that are bothering you. The last phase is here, back in the seventh house, which is relationships, and a lovely end to the month at that. Join me at astrology.com.au, Leo, for more. I'm here every month. I'll join you to sort of welcome you to come and join us every month and leave your notes. Subscribe if you can. That's always good to have more subscriptions, and you can always drop me a note. Take care. See you soon. Bye-bye for now.